Welcome to Recap World. Today we are recapping a movie in which a detective of the paranormal slowly unravels mysterious events with deadly results. The movie opens with a narration detailing the discovery by mine workers of remnants from an ancient Abkhani civilization. It's revealed that 10,000 years prior, the Abkhani people inadvertently unleashed an evil entity through a gateway they had opened. The civilization vanished mysteriously, leaving behind only enigmatic artifacts. The scene shifts to a child running through a forest, pursued by police. Hudgens stresses the importance of these orphan children in the fight to save humanity and instructs Sister Clara to contact the authorities and report the children missing. An agent arrives, informing Hudgens that one child is unaccounted for. The focus then shifts to a tense moment near a high-voltage box, where a child hides. Sister Clara urgently contacts the police, reporting the disappearance of the children. The scene transitions to a vision of a creature reflected in a child's eye, abruptly interrupted as Edward awakens from his dream, finding himself in the present, seated on a plane. Hudgens contacts Pinkerton, instructing him to retrieve the artifact from Edward and eliminate him. Exiting the airport, Edward hails a taxi, unaware that Pinkerton is tailing him. As they navigate through the streets, Edward reveals that he lost his memory at the age of 10. While inspecting the artifact, Edward senses someone trailing them. The taxi driver, noticing the pursuit, maneuvers skillfully to evade their pursuer. Pinkerton eventually catches up, initiating a confrontation with Edward. Edward manages to break free and arms himself, engaging Pinkerton in a fierce exchange of gunfire. Despite Edward's efforts, Pinkerton persists in his pursuit. During the brawl, Edward seizes an opportunity, hurling Pinkerton onto a fishing spear, incapacitating him. In the museum, a security guard delivers an artifact to Aline, who promptly takes it into her possession. Meanwhile, Hudgens uncovers the existence of a submerged tomb named Erebus in the ocean. Upon returning home, Edward begins to examine the artifact, noticing peculiar markings. Upon discovering that the tomb is crafted from gold, driven by greed, the captain seizes Hudgens and imprisons him, intent on accessing the tomb's treasures. Upon opening the tomb, he recoils in fear. This triggers Edward's artifact to illuminate, causing him headache. As a result of the disturbance, John and several others become possessed, compelled to wander aimlessly. Hudgens manages to escape his confinement and witnesses the aftermath of the carnage. He ventures back to the tomb, extracting a concealed artifact before departing. Burke presides over Bureau 713, an organization specializing in paranormal investigations, whose surveillance systems detect anomalies. Edward regains consciousness to a distressing call from John's wife, reporting John's disappearance. Urgently, Edward contacts Fisher for information regarding John's whereabouts. Seeking assistance, he visits Sister Clara to share the news about John's disappearance. Clara provides Edward with files containing details of other orphan children. Edward rendezvous with Fisher, who divulges information about the 19 individuals who have gone missing, all of whom originated from the same orphanage as Edward. Determined to uncover the truth, Edward visits the museum, where he meets Aline. Presenting the artifact to her, Aline conducts a scan, revealing its origins as an Abkhani artifact. Their attention is diverted by the sound of footsteps within the museum. Investigating, they are joined by a guard, but their exploration is abruptly interrupted as a mysterious creature ambushes and fatally strikes the guard from behind. The creature displays an uncanny ability to disappear. Edward and Aline stumble upon the lifeless body of the guard and suddenly get attacked by the creature. Fleeing into a nearby room, they hastily barricade themselves inside as the creature attempts to breach their room. Edward manages to fend it off with gunfire, forcing it to retreat momentarily. Soon after, soldiers from Bureau 713 arrive, engaging in a skirmish with the creatures. Despite the creature's ferocity, the soldiers repel them effectively, forcing them to flee. Arriving at the chaotic scene, Burke faces Edward's urgent inquiries about the creature but stays tight-lipped until Edward's persistence leads to a confrontation halted by intervening guards. Unbeknownst to Burke, Edward has covertly procured his security card. Edward seeks out Fisher, who is conducting a post-mortem on Pinkerton. Fisher discloses that Pinkerton was an X-713 agent and extracts a worm from Pinkerton's spinal cord. Oddly, his scanning equipment reacts unusually, emitting strong readings when brought near Edward. Hudgens arrives at Aline's office to find her engrossed in studying a scanned copy of Edward's artifact. He requests to examine it, but their conversation is interrupted by the arrival of an agent. Meanwhile, Fisher conducts a scan on Edward's back, discovering a similar worm inside him, albeit with an incomplete symbiotic bond. At his lab, Hudgens unveils a captured creature and extracts a blood sample, injecting it into himself. Fisher later briefs Edward on the connection between the creatures and the worms inside them, providing him with a scanner to track them and weapons for defense. Edward returns home and checks for creatures using the tracker provided by Fisher, then goes to sleep. Moment later, Aline also makes her way to Edward's home, patiently waiting for him to awaken. Burke, seeking information, urges Fisher to provide him with all available data on Edward. Later that day, Fisher is at home when the doorbell rings. His wife goes to answer it, but when she doesn't return, he investigates and discovers her unconscious. Suddenly, Hudgens ambushes him, forcibly implanting a worm into him. Meanwhile, Aline shows Edward that the Abkhani artifacts lead to a specific location, but their meeting is interrupted when the lights start flickering, signaling the presence of the creature. Armed with a gun, Edward investigates and encounters John, who is under the creature's control. In self-defense, Edward is forced to shoot and kill him. As other possessed individuals attack, Edward defends himself, ultimately facing off against the creature. He manages to shoot and kill it. However, their victory is short-lived as more creatures converge on the scene. Suddenly, agents from Bureau 713 arrive, providing backup and engaging the creatures in a fierce firefight, ultimately eliminating them. Burke strides into the room, intent on apprehending Edward upon learning of the worm inside him. However, their confrontation is swiftly interrupted as more possessed individuals launch an attack, resulting in heavy casualties among the agents. Amidst the chaos, one of the possessed assailants targets Burke, but Edward intervenes, saving him from harm. Eventually the agents kills all of the creatures and possessed. Agent Crash reports that satellite surveillance has detected multiple creature signatures emanating from a nearby gold mine. With Fisher and Hudgens still missing, Burke urges Edward to accompany him to the mine. Arriving at the gold mine, they prepare to venture inside. Edward, sensing a deeper threat, ventures further into the mine, discovering a tunnel. He insists to Burke that they must explore it. Agreeing to Edward's intuition, Burke leads a contingent of soldiers into the depths of the tunnel. As soldiers ready the generator and illuminate the area, Edward ventures deeper into the tunnel, only to reach a dead end. However, his attention is drawn upward, where he discovers ancient Abkhani markings. Suddenly, a soldier examines the surface, triggering the opening of a gate beneath him, sending him plummeting to his demise. Hudgens unleashes a massive army of creatures upon the soldiers. Fisher, now possessed, sabotages the generator, plunging the area into darkness. In the ensuing darkness, the creatures breach the perimeter, prompting the soldiers to open fire. Meanwhile, Burke and his team descend into the tunnel, where they narrowly evade a dislodging stone. As the soldiers on the surface become overwhelmed by the onslaught, reinforcements arrive just in time via helicopter. Within the depths of the mine, a creature navigates through the sand, ambushing Chung and fatally biting her. It then sets its sights on Aline, but Edward intervenes, thwarting its attack. Amidst the chaos, numerous other creatures descend upon them, but Edward manages to repel each one. Burke rushes to check on Chung, only to discover her lifeless body. Outside the mine's entrance, all the soldiers lie dead, leaving Agent Feenstra as the sole survivor. She communicates with Agent Miles, informing him of the grim situation. Meanwhile, inside the tunnel, Edward uncovers a concealed wall and demolishes it, revealing a potential escape route. Feenstra seeks refuge deeper within the mine, and Agent Miles, following her trail, discovers her lifeless body. Moments later, he is attacked and killed by a creature as well. Edward ventures beyond the wall, discovering a chamber filled with hospital beds and medical equipment. Burke examines one of the beds and uncovers one bearing Edward's name. Meanwhile, Barr stumbles upon a lever, activating it to reveal a gate adorned with Abkhani markings. As Edward aligns the artifact with the markings, confirming their connection, Hudgens ominously emerges, swiftly dispatching Barr and demanding the surrender of weapons. He coerces them to hand over the Abkhani key, and upon securing the final piece, proceeds to unlock the door. In a bold move, Burke attacks and vanquishes Hudgens, but not before the door is opened. Undeterred, they venture through the doorway, only to stumble upon a sprawling nest teeming with the creatures. Burke sets a bomb at the door while Edward seals it shut with a metal barrier. They retreat to the tunnel, where they locate a ladder leading upward. Burke attempts to trigger the bomb remotely, but the signal fails, prompting him to rush back to detonate it manually. Meanwhile, Edward and Aline ascend the ladder to safety. Burke activates the bomb and flings it into the chamber. The explosion erupts, propelling Burke away to safety. Meanwhile, Edward and Aline emerge from the tunnel just in time to find themselves in the orphanage's backyard. As they survey the orphanages, they are met with a grim sight that Sister Clara has tragically taken her own life. Venturing into the city, Edward and Aline discover it eerily deserted. While they were navigating the empty city, a creature attacks them from behind, and the movie ends.